Welcome to the WJBM Outdoor Show, brought to you by Midwest Tractor Sales in Jerseyville. We're coming to you from the WJBM studios in Jerseyville, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Aaron Quillen. I operate Monarch Rivers, where the mission is simple: kill big deer. And a great surprise today. This gentleman's first time meeting. However, a couple of our good buddies are mutual good buddies, and absolutely thrilled to have Mr. Levi Carlock in the building. Levi, thanks for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I just got the opportunity, and I thought it would be pretty cool to come in and chit-chat with you and get to be on the radio for once.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you, I feel like I got the secret weapon right now. I feel like I got old Moose and Kyle's, I don't know, you're their guru, maybe?
Yeah, I guess you could kind of say that. I'm the one that deep dives into a lot of our hunting and fishing adventures and end up troubleshooting problems and trying to figure out game plans sometimes. Not to say those boys can't do it, but sometimes I get to be the brains sometimes of the operation. I'm sure they're going to like that one. But.
No, that's awesome. Okay, so where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up about an hour and a half north of here.
Okay.
Maybe not even that far. Chandlerville, Illinois. It's in Cass County, about 25 minutes north of Jacksonville.
Okay.
So, grew up there. My grandpa's got a little farm up that way, so grew up hunting and fishing, and that's kind of where it all got started. Started at a young age, so yeah.
Okay. I mean, from the posts, the stories, I'm sure I've talked to these guys on the phone while you were fishing together or whatever. So how did you originally meet Moose?
I was living in Winchester, and just out of mutual friends and mutual interests,
Yeah.
going to parties and stuff like that, when we were younger, and just got linked up that way. And we started fishing pretty heavily on the Illinois rivers, kind of how we kicked off our friendship, and we just fished a whole bunch any chance we got. We didn't have hardly a dollar to our names, but little John boats and anything we can get out on the Illinois River. And even with that not being that great of a fishery, we did pretty well, as far as catching catfish and just having a good time. And so yeah, that's kind of how we met, and then it's just kind of blossomed over the years. We've all grown up a little bit, and a couple kids running around in the picture now, Right. So it's just, we stayed friends, and I just moved back from Texas here within the last 6 months, so kind of rekindled and resparked up the friendship, and just glad to be able to get back out with the boys and do stuff around here.
Awesome.
So
Okay. Now, you mentioned catfishing, Illinois River. It's not a great fishery, but there's some decent fish in there.
Yeah.
Where did you learn? Where'd you originally cut your teeth on this?
Well, I'm a old river rat at heart. Growing up in Chandlerville, we were 5 minutes from the Sangamon River, so I grew up wading through little shallow spots of the river and just going from hole to hole and fishing with my dad on the river. We'd set bank poles, we'd run hoop nets, and a lot of times you did that when the water was up and it was flooding and stuff in the spring, and you could actually get a boat up and down the river there. But that's kind of where I cut my teeth on that. And there's a little lake not too far from Sanganoway's conservation area, and my guy called my grandpa on my mom's side, he had a cabin out there, and he was kind of a manager of a little piece of property, and so we'd go out there and we'd fish, and that's kind of where it all started.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of where I cut my teeth and learned the basics, if you will. Mm-hmm. And my dad likes to fish, but he never really took it to the next level or the next level above that. So me, I just couldn't pass it up, and would always fish little farm ponds and stuff, just like every country kid around here really does, and learn how to catch bass and catch your bait and everything like that. But then I couldn't stop. I just couldn't. And they started up the Illinois bass fishing, I don't know the correct acronym, for all the high school kids.
Okay.
And so the first year that they ever had that, I fished in it.
Okay.
Out of AC Central was the high school I went to. So fished in it there. not that we did very good. We didn't even have hardly a working trolling motor on the boat, but we still caught some fish, weighed some in, and it kind of really ignited my interest in the bass fishing, and I kind of got away from the catfishing for a while. But I think that was good, because then I started to actually be interested in the fish habits and what have you. And from there, I joined the bass fishing team where I went to college at the University of Nebraska. I kind of had to try out and prove myself, so to speak. And then once they seen, hey, this kid can fish, and then they'd start sending me on tournaments. Well, we ended up qualifying for the Boat U.S. National Championship down in Alabama, because we placed well enough in smaller tournaments and got enough points, and the team got sent to that. So fished in that against like Jordan Lee and his brother, and they absolutely whooped us. Had no idea what we were doing down there on the Tennessee River at that time, but that was where it really, I kind of went off the deep end, and then ended up buying a couple boats and trading boats, and just going to school for fisheries and wildlife science, and working in the fisheries and working in wildlife. I got some exposure to like electrofishing and like really understanding where these fish like to hang out and where they're at certain times of the year, and just kind of their overall biology and where they're going throughout different times of the year, and where to focus on them and where to try to catch them. And so to make it back all the way to the Illinois River, started applying some of that stuff there. Like when I was fishing with Moose and Kyle, and looking for different places, scour holes, if we're targeting flatheads or blues, and like where to actually look for them at, whether it was a feeding flat, if it was the right time of day, or if you wanted to fish laydowns for flatheads, and how to find those laydowns if you didn't have any technology, and not hit them with the boat motor. I mean, that's one way to find the laydown, but just isolated pieces of structure and things that you could key in on and like maybe have a chance to catch good fish. So, and then once I got out of school, it was just one lake after another. I was living in Nebraska. I fished stuff in Nebraska, learned how to catch walleye, learned how to, focus on crappie. And then all of a sudden I'm going to Kansas. I'm going into Missouri. I'm going all over places. And I already was traveling for other tournaments when I was still in school, but, it just became absolute obsession when it comes to fishing for me. So here as of recent, I haven't been able to get out as much, but with the development of technology and live scope and learning how to use that and dial that in, already felt like I was doing pretty good and could put fish in the boat pretty consistently. And then that came out, and it was just like, well, I'm here to catch fish. I'm not here I don't really fish any tournaments anymore, but just learning the different things I learned about the fish in school, and then applying that and seeing it with my own eyes and live scope, like, hey, these fish are on this tree at this time because of this, and they're chasing this type of bait, and that's why they're here, and that's why we need to be here. So let's just focus on this. But anyway, I kind of ran down a rabbit hole there on you. But
no, I love it.
That's kind of how it started snowballing, and just over the last 6-7 years of using the live scope and fishing all different rivers and lakes all over the Midwest and Texas, Colorado, you name it. Kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different things. So
okay, so with the pre-live scope, you basically, let's just say you had your idea of where they might be, and then you got to go catch them. Mm-hmm. And if they're biting and you get positive feedback, great. Now the live scope seems like you pull up there and it's going to tell you if they're there or not.
Yeah, and it's got its limitations. I mean, one, the fish don't always want to bite, so they'll aggravate you to beyond no end. Now, when you can dangle your lure or your bait in front of their face and they won't eat it. But,
right.
I mean, you can ground truth a lot of things. Like before, you drive over it with traditional sonar and you're like, well, I can tell that that's a tree, but I don't know what kind of fish exactly are on it. There's a whole bunch of fish on it. Well, now, like in the Illinois River, you pull up there and you're like, well, there's a whole bunch of fish on it, but those are all Asian carp. Or it's like, oh, those are Asian carp, but look, there's a big blob sitting down there in the bottom, and that looks like a catfish. So there's one fish on this tree to catch. If we catch this fish, let's catch him and get out of here and go find something new. I can save time and hit more spots or find more spots. If you drive around and look at that enough, you're going to find more things, and it will open your eyes to, where they're actually at. Because before I was like, oh, they're always going to be in the deepest holes all the time. Mm-hmm. And just like, you got to get to the deepest water to catch the biggest catfish or whatever. And that's not necessarily the truth. I've caught 50, 60 pound blues in 2-3 foot of water.
Really?
And that's pretty regular, especially in the spring and in the summer, or not summer, but in the spring and the early winter, late winter months when it starts to warm up. It's a real good time to catch catfish shallow. And they do that on the river. Whenever you get a warm flash of 70-degree days, you find a feeding flat next to a deeper piece of water, and those fish will move up there chasing bait, especially if you're close to a feeder creek, like a primary creek that feeds in, because the shad will slide out to the deeper water, hang out in that deeper zone, and the fish will feed on them there. But when it warms up, it doesn't take those shad long to figure out there's warmer water somewhere else.
Okay.
And they move up shallow, and they'll flash up in a day. And the warmest water is going to be closest to the bank where the water's the shallowest, and it can heat up quicker. So in the mud is another key factor in it, like how muddy that water is. If the substrate is sand, rock, wood, so your mud, it's got a lot of dissolved solids in it, like the muddy water.
Yeah.
And because those particles are closer together, and as the sunlight penetrates the water, they heat up faster, they bump into each other faster. So that water is, the dirtier the better in the spring. So that's where a lot of fish go, because it's warmer, and they don't care if they can see. They got a lateral line system, and they don't need to see that. So you kind of can use those things and start putting dots together, just get it in your mind where you think they ought to be based on these habits and what they do biologically, where they feel the best. So,
wow, that's probably the most comprehensive breakdown of catfishing that I think we've had on the show.
I mean, there's more to it.
And, I know.
We can, get into different where they want to hang out based on if there's a thermocline set up, but that's different in a lake or a river. But if the river's not got much flow in it, like if you're fishing behind a dam, like on the Tennessee River or something, thermocline set up, and below a thermocline, there's hardly any oxygen. And you ever heard the term, there's 90% of the fish and 10% of the water?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that, and it's because the bait and all these fish feel good in one area of the water. It's where they have the most oxygen, they have their food, they have cover, all in that area. So you can eliminate 90% of the water a lot of times because of depth and where that thermocline's set up. So once you eliminate that, all these people that are fishing in real deep water in the middle of the summertime on lakes and even ponds and stuff around, it's like you're just blowing your time into the wind because you're not even fishing where there's fish. So
okay, so how do you find the thermocline?
Thermocline, if you just have normal down imaging, you don't need live scope to see this. It's actually a lot easier on traditional 2D sonar. You can turn your sonar on and just have it on down scan or down imaging. You can see it on like the Humminbird 3D or whatever you want to. But if you just take your gain on traditional sonar, the gain function, and you turn it up, you're sitting, say you're at, I don't know, we'll just pick a lake. Say you're at Mark Twain Lake. That's a close one around here. Say you're at Mark Twain Lake and you're sitting in 40 foot of water and it's been hot. It's first week of August and you're out there to try to catch catfish or whatever. Go out there, 30, 40 feet of water, whatever it is. Most of the time it's probably the thermocline isn't going to be that deep, but you can start touching your gain up. And then eventually the screen will start getting fuzzier from the bottom going up to where that thermocline line is. And once you kind of max out that frequency that you're telling that gain to read and that sensitivity as you kick that up, it'll start developing a kind of a foggy line across there. And like say at Mark Twain, or like I was in Texas, so that thermocline's very defined before I moved. And there would be a thermocline sometimes at 14 feet or 17 feet or 22 feet. Each water body's different. You just got to figure it out. It may be deeper than that, but it starts at the bottom and starts moving its way up the later the summer gets.
Okay.
So you can see that and you can eliminate a lot of water. And if you're good on your graph, as far as like what your depth charts are, you can tell it to color code your chart and say, hey, anything 40 foot and down, turn it this color. And you can look at that and go, I'm not going to that color. You can still catch fish above that thermocline out in the middle of nothing, like say white bass or stripers or hybrid stripers, whatever, or catfish just roaming out there above that thermocline, but they need to be there for a reason. There's got to be bait for them to be there, and you got to ask yourself, well, are they going to be there, and why is there bait there? And some places just have tons of bait, and it's hard to fish those places sometimes, but it's just, it helps you eliminate water so you can focus on the areas. And a lot of times the presentation doesn't necessarily matter as much if you're in that area. That's why there's thousands of different lures and different ways you can go after different fish species. So,
yeah. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Side note, and I'm probably off here, but that thermocline, if that keeps going up and up and up in the summer,
That's how you get a pond turnover a lot of times. Yeah. And sometimes just the bathymetry of the bottom of, like, say, a pond or something has a lot of trapped gas in it, methane and what have you.
Yeah.
That pond can also turn over then as well, just out of random. And the substrate gives up the gas, and then it chokes the oxygen out of the water, and you have all this dead decaying matter that's in there. That dead decaying matter eats oxygen up, and it drops the dissolved oxygen levels in the water, and you're gonna get fish kills, or you think your pond, turned over or whatever.
Okay.
And it's a natural thing, like in lakes, they'll turn over or they'll flip, but a lot of times it's so slow, the fish have time to get away from it and get to better water, and it doesn't happen all in the same area at once. If it does, you're going to end up with bigger fish kills, but a lot of times the fish kills you'll see is like algae related, like golden algae kills fish, but
Okay.
whether that's a problem as much up here in the Midwest as it is in the South to Mid-South, I'm not that good in there, but yeah.
Wow.
Hopefully that answered your question there.
Absolutely. So you went to college studying fish, basically, right?
I have a degree in fisheries and wildlife science. So,
Okay.
yeah, I had to take hydrology classes and limnology, like all sorts of different ologies, if you can imagine.
Right.
So, but they gave you a focus where you could pick if you wanted to go fisheries or you wanted to go to the wildlife side, and they had all these different, 7 or 8 different options. Well, I ended up picking wildlife damage management.
Okay.
Because I was like, what is the one thing that I can do that's like similar to hunting, or maybe I get to shoot a gun or something and maybe get paid for it.
Right.
And so I chose wildlife damage management because it was removal of animals. And come to find out, that's not used that much. That's kind of a very niche thing. It's hard to get into. I ended up getting into it, but it, the grass is always greener kind of thing sometimes. And, it didn't exactly pan out the way I wanted for what I wanted in life. And I found out I was always busy hunting, or when I wanted to be hunting or fishing, I was working with any of these natural resources jobs. So I did that for like 7 years. And then I decided to go back to school and got a degree in like power plant technology type stuff. And, so I work in the utility industry now, but I now have the money and the time to do some of these things that I really wanted to do that I had to watch everybody else do it, or, be working a check station or something. And it kind of evens out. I'd rather just be the guy at the check station trying to turn in my deer or whatever, versus being the guy sitting there working it, not getting to sit in the deer stand or whatever. So
that's cool though. So you're, basically your passion's taking you all over the country.
Yeah. I think I've lived in 6 different states now that I've held driver's license in. And just so happened to be, I never thought I was probably going to make it all the way back to Illinois, but we had a little girl and life changes, and we wanted to be up closer to grandma and grandpa and, give her that kind of rural life that I had, growing up, because we were in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex type area. And just the cost and everything. And, people are like, why would you move back from Texas all the way to Illinois? It's like, well, there's a number of different things that go with it, but it was just the best decision for me and my family, but.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the WJBM Outdoor Show, brought to you by Midwest Tractor Sales in Jerseyville. We're coming to you from the WJBM studios in Jerseyville, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Aaron Quillen. I operate Monarch Rivers, where the mission is simple: kill big deer. For those of you just joining, Mr. Levi Carlock, he's my guru's guru. We've been sitting here talking a lot about fishing, and Levi, how many states did you say you've lived in?
I've lived in 6 different states now.
Okay, 6 different states. It's a lot of places to fish. Also, a lot of places to hunt.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess this season here, was it, what season tag did you have first?
I had a first season tag here in Illinois for turkeys. So.
All right. And Moose said that you guys had a little bit of a...
We had an interesting hunt.
Okay. Well, walk us through this a little bit.
All right. Well, it was first season, and of course, with Moose being a farmer, we were supposed to hunt for a couple extra days than we got the chance to, but because of rains missing us and what have you, his spraying had to go on. The show must go on for the farmers, and me not being a farmer but having the days off, I'm wanting to go turkey hunting. But anyway, he got us a farm got permission on a farm to get us to go turkey hunting on, and we went out there the night before. We went and tried to roost birds, and we roosted a couple. We heard 2 or 3 gobbles and a couple different locations, but it wasn't anything for what I was prepared for the next morning as far as the amount of gobbles that we heard on this farm.
Okay.
And so, we go home, we make a plan. We say, hey, we're going to go after this one bird. He sounds like he could fly right up the ridge and come into this nice little wheat field, I don't know, cover crop field, whatever it is. I'm not a farmer. Don't ask me on all that. But so we go out there, and of course, like turkey hunting most of the time, you hear a lot more birds in the morning than you ever do in the evening. And we realized that we probably should have set up somewhere else, because we set up on the edge of this farm. It was a pretty large farm and a lot of walking in between to get from point A to point B. And we actually drove right past the birds we ended up killing that day. And we parked not super far from them. But anyhow, the birds gobbled like crazy on the roost. There was more turkeys than I've ever heard in Illinois around this farm. And I bet you we heard 24, 25 different gobbles, just like,
oh my gosh.
I mean, like separate ones, not just like 4 jakes just going crazy.
Right.
So anyway, turkeys fly down in the morning. The main group of birds that we were after, they go the other way, and they get out, and they ended up strutting in a field across the ditch. I don't know why they would fly across the ditch and cross all that country instead of just coming up into that nice pretty field we have. But turkeys do turkey stuff. And so they end up there. We kind of chased some other gobbles around that we heard, and everything was just kind of off the property edge. And I said, what about those ones we kind of faintly heard back there by the truck? Those sounded like those were actually on the farm. And by this time, it's 8:30. He's got to get to spraying by 9:15,
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let's go back to the truck. We set the decoys in the truck. And I said, let's walk around the corner here, and I'll see if I can get them to fire off. Maybe we'll be lucky and they'll be somewhere we can get to, or try to put a sneak on something, just whatever. Try to make it worth it. It was the last day for first season, and and that was going to be my time since I was there with him. So I said, let's push it a little. And we walked 50 yards from the truck around the corner. I gave out a hen call, a couple clucks. Turkeys fired off 2 or 3 gobbles. And I was like, well, they sounded like mature birds. I think we can get to that. Pulled up the map and was like, let's go around the corner here. So we had to drive a quarter mile down the road, jump out, and make up some ground on them. And they were strutting kind of in a field corner, field edge, and we had access to kind of get underneath of them. So we got within probably 150 yards of the birds, but we didn't know exactly where that. It was off one gobble, and I said, I don't want to keep calling and them start coming this way and then bust us on the way there or something. Not that I'm super great caller or anything, but serviceable enough. And so as we're headed over there, we get about to where I think these birds, somewhere around the area they gobbled at. I was like, well, we got to have some cover by somewhere. So me and Moose are standing there kind of breathing hard, and because we just huffed it pretty good because we're short on time, I let out a call, and they're, like I say, 125 yards, and we just couldn't see them through all the honeysuckle and everything on a field edge kind of across this little creek.
Okay.
And so we hit the deck. We were like, oh, they can see us,
Yeah.
And so we hit the deck, and when we hit the deck, I could see a hen look like she was running. I was like, oh, darn, we busted them. I didn't hear any pucking, though,
Yeah.
Didn't hear pucking like she was an alarm. So I originally thought, well, these turkeys are running down this field edge. I said, let's squeeze up here and try to get in front of them. Maybe we can settle them down, thinking that we spooked them. Well, it turns out we didn't spook them. They didn't see us. I don't know how, but they didn't see us, and they were still just doing turkey stuff out there. So, and once we did, it was farther than I would have ever tried to push to get close to them in the terrain that they were in. It was reasonably flat with a little roll, but as we came up closer to the field edge that they were at, there was a hay bale, and we sat down, and I called a little bit, and they went nuts. And I said, they're right there. I can hear them spitting and drumming. If we sit up high enough to get over this honeysuckle or find a window, we can probably see them. And I peeked my head up there, and there's a gobbler strutting at 25 yards. And maybe even closer than that. And I was like, dude, I can't move. I don't know what you want to do. And the window was like this big through all the honeysuckle, you know? And he goes, you got a shot, take it. So I pull up, said, okay, I'm going to shoot him. You know, I pulled up and I had no idea that there were like 4 gobblers, 3 jakes, super jakes, whatever, all in this one big group. They're still pretty grouped up being first season, I think. And so I dropped the bird and Levi, he's shooting my single shot 410 that I got a turkey choke and stuff set up on, and I was just shooting a little 28 gauge myself. And so but mine, I had 3 shots in mine. He has 1 on that single shot 410. Well, I said, hey, there's another one up there. Just jump in this hole, try to get him. He jumps up, shoots, nothing. I hand him my gun. I said, I got 2 more in there. I can't see anything. 2 more shots ring out. So I only had 3 shells in the gun. I don't have any in my pocket. And he's only got like 1 or 2 other of those single shot 410 shells. And I was like, wow, that's probably it. That was 4 shots, you know, between the total. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just run over and grab my bird. So I walked over, grabbed my bird. And those turkeys were out there like 150 yards just staring back at us. I went out there and grabbed the bird, walked back to the fence, sat down. And Levi kept staring up there and looking. And he was like, there's one that's just hanging out there, call at him. So I started calling. Birds gobble. Started calling. Birds gobble again. Next thing you know, a super Jake is what I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
Or Jom, as Levi said. Jake Tom. And he's only killed 1 bird. So I was like, whatever, man. You can shoot whatever you want.
Right.
Well, he loads back up the 410, and I'm sitting on the ground like this next to my bird. And he's standing up, looking out this hole through the honeysuckle and all the stuff. And I ended up calling. He said, yeah, he's coming. And then we lost him. I couldn't hear him. And this hay bale I talked about earlier was sitting there at the top of this field, and bird crossed fence. And when he crossed underneath this little fence right by this hay bale, it was just half torn down, you know. He ducked underneath of it. And when I seen that, Levi hadn't seen him. And I said, hey, man, he's coming around the hay bale. Get ready. He's standing up. I'm laying on the ground next to this turkey in this pasture, this dead one. And I can see the turkey go behind the hay bale. He comes out and he sees me. He sees Levi standing up. He's, you know, it's just, I was like, show's over at this point, you know. And when he poked his head out, I go, shoot him. And he said that he could only barely see the turkey's head on the other side of the hay bale. And I'm sure he blew some straw out of that thing, you know. And he shot and the bird dropped. And, I mean, it was only probably 12 yards or something. And, it was kind of a wrap. It was kind of an ecstatic little moment. And I got more joy out of calling that bird back in and him getting a shot, because he was kind of, I think he's a little down in the dumps that I got one and he didn't, and we were that close to all those birds. But
I can see that.
It ended up working out. It was a goat roping though at the best.
Awesome.
But gave him the old Mohican sneaking or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Man, the turkey, it's like they can do that and then they can just be impossible.
Or you can breathe wrong and sitting at a tree, or they see you from a mile and a half away and they're just gone. I don't get them. I mean, they're the smartest, dumbest animals I've ever hunted. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can kind of talk as they're coming in, and you're talking the same volume as what you're calling at sometimes. And they don't know English, but then they know that click of a safety. I mean, how many times
is that?
Your
eyeballs like that. Yeah, a little too close.
Right.
Yeah, and then their little snood comes up, and game's over. But
yeah, that's a trip. So first season tagged out, and then you mentioned that you had a tag coming up.
I had a second season tag, and I hunted 2 days with it and tried to get my wife a bird up in Cass County, where my family's got the farm. Okay. And we just got duped by an old bird, kind of one of those ones that you chase for a couple years kind of deal. He's one of those, and he's a big bird. He's always got hens with him, and he always does exactly what you don't want him to do, it seems like. So we got duped on him, and for 2 days, and there wasn't much to write on about that. I mean, we seen him, but other than seeing him cross the ridge 75 yards farther than where we were at with hens, there wasn't much to write on that one. But and then I had a fifth season tag for Pure Marquette State Park for like the campground area. And I'm not going to be able to hunt it because I'm leaving tomorrow to go to British Columbia on a black bear hunt with some of my friends from Nebraska that I went to school with. And so
That's awesome.
He kind of last minute did that one after I already had my selections put in for my Illinois turkey tag. And I said, well, I ain't missing the bear hunt.
Right. Have you been bear hunting before?
I've had a bear tag in my pocket, and when I hunted in Colorado, seen a few bears, but never got to pull the trigger on one. Had some chances, but then it turned out it was a sow with cubs, and can't shoot those in Colorado. And this is going to be the first real experience, and it's just going to be a full blown out coastal British Columbia black bear hunt where we got a kind of like a houseboat that we can stay on, or they've got a lodge, and we can go back and forth. So there's 6 of us going up there, and I think it's going to be a riot. When we're not bear hunting, we're going to be fishing off the boat, and I don't know what all, halibut, salmon, whatever they got up there. We already bought all of our licenses and stuff, so the next thing is just make it through the airport with all the needed paperwork and not have anything get lost on the way.
Right.
But
yeah, I've not flown back with fish from Canada, but elk meat. I was in Canada, quite a while ago. I think it was like 2013, and the cooler had to sit at the airport for a day, which was
not ideal.
Yeah, it was strange. And I went with a bunch of guys from Michigan, and they said what they do is they drive into Canada and they fly from Canada, and that way they don't have to do that. But my brother killed an elk. He was staring down the barrel of, all those coolers and how much it was going to cost to get it back. He's like,
yeah, they said we could buy some foam coolers up there and ship it back on dry ice and things like that. So I don't know exactly how it's all going to work out. One of my buddies, he's an advisor for an outfitting company, RBO, out of Nebraska. And so hopefully he's got it a little more figured out than me, but if nothing else, he knows that we can get the capes and whatever back, and we have a place that if we need to donate the meat, we can donate the meat and that sort of thing. But I'd like to bring as much back as I could because I'm a big meat eater and I like to cook and eat my own stuff, and
For sure. Have you had bear before?
I have never had bear.
I've had it.
Other than maybe jerky.
But, like the sticks is what I've had. I've never had like a bear fillet.
Yeah. It's passing me what they can give you if you don't eat fully cooked bear meat.
I don't know.
It's some type of disease or something that you can get, or infection, whatever.
Okay.
But it might be brucellosis. I can't remember. Anyway, but you eat undercooked stuff, it can make you really, really sick. And so you don't really normally eat that rare.
Gotcha.
I'm more of a rare, medium rare kind of guy on all my game meat. I don't like it dry. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe sausage would be a good avenue to take it,
100%.
Do breakfast sausage, and I would like to render some of the fat and whatnot, but I don't know if I'll have that option. I'd like to have some bear grease and, get to cook with it, but
okay.
I don't know. Probably won't happen, but we'll see how it all turns out. I just like using the most out of the animal that I can. I don't like, wasting anything, so.
Yeah. I get that for sure. Are you bow hunting, gun hunting? How's it going?
I'm taking a rifle.
Okay.
We had the option to do either, and I believe it's a 2-bear area.
Okay.
But just for the cost of getting everything back, that's probably going to be a decent little chunk.
Yeah.
But we're just going to shoot, try to get one. One of the guys in the group's bringing a bow, and he wants to really focus on some of the more trophy boars and wants to try the avalanche shoots and stuff up above, the lodge, wherever they have, because that's where the grass green's up first up there up in the higher country.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I don't know if I'll hunt up top, hunt down low, but the coastal thing sounds really cool, and it sounds like a whole lot less work than hiking through deadfall and avalanche shoots. So,
yeah, that sounds awesome. What kind of gun are you taking?
I'm taking a 300 Winchester short mag.
Okay.
I got a Savage 110 and the ultralight. It's got the carbon fiber barrel and stuff. I built it originally for elk hunting and never drew an elk tag where I wanted to go use it. I just did a lot of over-the-counter elk hunting with the bow.
Yeah.
A lot of butt kickings in that. especially in Colorado. So,
Yeah.
but no, it's I would have taken the bow maybe if this was my second trip up there or something, but I haven't got to use that rifle for anything, and everybody else but one guy's bringing it, and he's a diehard, so why not?
I've been on 2 bear hunts, and let's just say I didn't come home with a bear either time. The first one, I shot a nice bear. I don't know what happened. Our sat phone couldn't reach out, and it's nothing against Canadians, but they don't over communicate. All I was told is don't go chasing a wounded bear into the woods.
Yeah.
So the sat phone wouldn't reach out. We had a big storm come in, so we had virtually no blood trail. It got washed away, and
it's just hunting, man. It just happens sometimes like that.
Yeah, and then on the second one, the trigger fell off my release on the way to the stand. And wouldn't you know, that's the night that I'm going to see a bear.
It's hard to shoot a compound if that's what you're shooting on fingers.
It wasn't fingers. It was, so there's a little lever that comes off my release. That
I'm saying if you've lost your release and you just tried to use fingers, it's, I tried that on a turkey. It didn't work out so well.
Yeah, it's not, they're not tuned the same, But the trigger screwed into this little lever, and that was the action that, released the string. Well, the actual trigger fell off. So I'm like, I got this. I'll just pull that lever. My fingers are long enough. I can do that. Man, it brought every bad habit out of me. I'm back here trying to find this lever with my finger. And what ended up happening is I pulled, and I was so excited I peeked over the arrow.
Right underneath of him.
So right underneath him. You wouldn't believe it. This bear came back. And I did it again. And then I got back to camp. I was so mad. I pulled the chair out right in front of the target, drilled the target. It just, all that got me too excited. But I guess that's why we do it. So good luck on the bear.
Well, thank you.
That's a lot of fun. Are you hunting? So you're not necessarily hunting bait sites then?
No bait sites. This is all going to be coastal tide pool type stuff where, water goes down when the tide goes out, and they're up there eating blue clam and whatever. They find all the greens and stuff that come up on the edge there.
Wow.
So hopefully we'll see a lot of bears. We've, heard stories of guys seeing 10, 15 bears a day sometimes, and kind of getting to pick, and choose some of the stuff, which I don't know. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too good about that because I'm afraid that we won't get that type of experience. But I did look at the weather, and they had a fair amount of rain before, and the days that we're going, it's very clear in the forecast, which it's Pacific Northwest, so that's bound to change.
Yeah.
But, still packing the rain gear for sure. But no more than 20% chance of rain the whole time we're there for the whole 7 days, and hopefully that means there'll be plenty of greens growing, and the bears will want to be out on the shore, and we might get lucky and strike one up. But
oh, that's fantastic. Well, I wish you the best of luck on that trip.
Thank you.
We're going to take another break. Come back, hear a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the WJBM Outdoor Show, brought to you by Midwest Tractor Sales in Jerseyville. We're coming to you from the WJBM studios in Jerseyville, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Aaron Quillen. I operate Monarch Rivers, where the mission is simple: kill big deer. We have Levi Carlock on the air with us today, and we were just talking about this bear hunt Levi's going on to British Columbia, doing a coastal black bear. And Levi, hunting out of state's not really a new thing to you.
No, I've hunted quite a few western states as of recent. Lived in Colorado for a while, so lived in Nebraska for a while. So all across the Midwest, the Southeast, I've hunted a lot. And but I really, really almost would prefer the mountain style of hunting just for the amount of land that's out in the West. And, it's just around here, your wildlife management area. The biggest ones we've got around here, 18,000 acres down at Kaskaskia and Jim Edgar. I mean, that's 16,000, but it's just different. Out there, you have millions of acres in places that are solid blocks, and you can go feel like you're a mountain man or something running around out there and just let the mountain kick your butt. But Yeah, probably like last year we went to me and my buddy that I went to college with. We went out to New Mexico and did a public land DIY turkey hunt.
Wow.
And we went to the Lincoln National Forest, and like I said, there's I think 1.5 million or better acres out there on the Lincoln National Forest, and it goes over multiple different units there that you can hunt for that over-the-counter tag that they have, and it was fairly reasonable. But we got a cabin, and we went up there, and we were lucky. We killed a double on the first day, first afternoon. But
Nice.
I'll go ahead and take credit for the scouting on that one. But
Okay.
just did a ton, never set foot in the place, and just did a ton of internet scouting and just reading maps, just kind of like I do for fishing, and trying to identify spots and places that look like they've got the right thing for that animal at that time of year. And we got lucky and killed a nice double of Merriam's on the mountain in the first afternoon. So it was pretty cool.
That is awesome. What are some of the things that you were looking for that kind of pointed you to that?
I mean, no matter what turkey you got, you're always going to be looking for water. They've got to have some type of permanent source of water. And out there in New Mexico, in a lot of western states, they'll do water tanks in some way, shape, or form. And they call them tanks. It could just be a little low spot, a pond that they've dug. But some places like New Mexico have artificial water.
Okay.
And they'll have like an artesian well or something drilled, and they'll just have these wildlife watering holes, and they'll be scattered all across the landscape. And the game and parks or their DNR or whatever they call it, a lot of times they're managing those. But it's hard to find a list of like which ones actually have water in them, and when they have water, what time of year. The pump might break and you don't know, and that thing doesn't have any water in it.
Right.
So you try to get as up-to-date aerial imagery as you can and see which ones are holding water.
Okay.
And then if you don't have that, if you can find a stream like on OnX or something that has a solid line on it for a creek instead of a dashed line,
Yeah.
then you can find water. But you also got to keep an eye out for little springs, like natural springs that pop up in places. There just might be a seep on a bench and it holds a little bitty tiny pool of water, but that's enough for a couple turkeys. So
Yeah.
you kind of got to weigh your options and see what looks like the best for holding water and what they might have to eat around there, And turkeys are species of edges. They love their secondary successional habitat, and as you go across the country, that changes, like what that actually looks like from Illinois to New Mexico, and two different subspecies of the wild turkey. That's two completely different looking things. So, looking for that. Roost trees, favorable elevation changes so that that you can actually walk it and you're just not climbing up a vertical face.
Right.
You kind of got to plan your route. So once you identify these kind of areas that you think are going to have food, they've got a roost area, water, whatever it may be, all these favorable things, they begin to stack up.
Okay.
And once they start stacking up high enough, you come up with little ideas in your head where you're like, I think there's going to be turkeys there. I really think there are. I really think there are. And then you go out and you got to ground check it. Well,
Right.
Within the first afternoon, we were like, well, we got a thunderstorm coming in probably in a couple hours. Let's go out here and try to see what we can scratch up real quick. Run out there, wasn't very far. Turkey track, feather, scat, and then it was like, okay, there's birds here. Confidence levels up, and, a couple, 2 or 3 mile hike before the storms and stuff came in that afternoon. We had a couple of birds fired up, and then the birds were on the ground, It was just one of those things. But I've applied that same kind of concept, whether that be in Colorado mountains, New Mexico, Wyoming, even out into more of the plain states like Nebraska, to find those turkeys. And I mean, it's pretty easy on the map to tell where turkeys are in Nebraska. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that one out because there's not as much of the tree and tree timber and, things like that out there. It's a lot more prairie. But you can apply that concept to anywhere. And you just start stacking those chips and you stack them in your favor. And then once you ground check some stuff, then you can get on some birds. But
that's wild. And then it all comes back to water being the most important ingredient.
Yep, water's definitely the most important ingredient. And so the Easterns are the most sensitive to it, of where they need water. So like in Texas, they have Easterns in Texas. They have a very small population of them in the piney woods and stuff on the east. But as the ground moves to the west out there, it gets drier, less rain, and you get out of that kind of rain belt, and then you start getting from eastern country to Rios.
Okay.
And if they have a really dry year in the east, their turkey population hurts really bad because they don't have the water to sustain those populations out there for the easterns. So it's always a thing about water. They have to have permanent water. That's why the rios, they're typically found around riverine type of riparian areas. Then you don't find that like rios up high in the mountains, even though there is water there. They need whatever's in their brain to satisfy them to live there. They're all turkeys and they all live in all these different places.
Yeah.
But I don't know how just their genetics and whatever came out to be that they've got to have certain pieces to make their life happen. So, and the rios, they're definitely rangier than like anything I've ever seen. Like, I bet you we followed a flock out there in New Mexico, day 2 or 3 of the hunt, trying to get our second bird out there, probably close to 11 miles that they went just in one day. And then they came back and roosted in the same spot they roosted the night before. So how many miles those turkeys actually put on their legs was unbelievable, but I know mine really hurt. I mean, out there, I think it was 4 or 5 day hunting. It was like 47 miles we put on, and we only shot 2 birds. We had some other chances, but anyway.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's interesting. So guys are starting to use a lot more water tubs for deer hunting because it's not baiting, it's providing them water. Mm-hmm. As to where in Illinois you can't, no mineral, you can't put corn on the ground, the whole deal. But so people are starting to use a lot more water tubs. Buddy of mine, Chris Walker, sells I think it's a 360 blind, and then they sell the custom water tubs. He was sending me videos of gobblers coming in and drinking right out of those tubs. Mm-hmm. And so to hear you say water is the most important thing, wow, that really...
Like, if it's a dry spring, I mean, especially here in Illinois, you don't have farm ponds or something around, and all you've got is a little creek, and it only runs some years, and you're like, why do I have birds this year? And everybody thinks the bobcats and everything got them. No, the bobcats didn't get them all. Yeah, they got a few. They got to eat too. But it's like, no, they're going to follow the water and what they need. It's just biology, It's, so I think those water tubs can be pretty good ideas. I do have my wonders about EHD and stuff, like with just the sogginess that'll happen around the outside of them, and if that's going to ever become more of a problem than it is now. But
yeah,
I couldn't speak to that. I'm not that big of a scientist as far as that goes. But
yeah, well, so to go back to what we were originally talking about with the water temperature and thermocline and the nutrients that are within the water eating up the oxygen, those nutrient-dense waters are actually better breeding ground for the midge fly throughout its various states. Like, is it pupa, larva?
Yeah, more for them to eat.
Right. So
they're feeding on phytoplankton and zooplankton, and they eat the little daphnia and the other little guys that are swimming around in there.
Yeah, and so, like, especially when you're in the middle of crop field and you get all those nutrients,
plenty of phosphorus and nitrogen,
and so
it's a double-edged sword is what it is. It's kind of a conundrum where it's like, well, you want to give them more water, you want to give them more of this availability, but in the long term, are you going to hurt them?
I think you have to treat it. I think you have to get rid of the excess nutrient and then create like a healthy water, which is more sustainable and less.
But my question is, how many guys are going to do that after they do the work to just put the tank in,
Yeah.
I mean, guys like you, I'm sure would, running the business and what have you. It's their livelihood. They have to. And unless they're a good land steward,
Yeah, that's what makes me nervous about people.
The carrot dangles a little low for some,
Yeah. Or when they dig the hole and put the plastic down or something like that, that's going to be your muddy, dirty water. I don't know if you can clean it.
Yeah.
A pond, you can just clean. Mm-hmm. Or I use little... I need to get some bigger ones, but I just use stuff I got from a website. They sent them all individually in boxes, and they could all fit in one box. But it's like a 7-gallon horse tub. But I just couldn't believe that turkeys were that active on them. Mm-hmm. And I guess I don't really run trail cams by the water tubs during the spring.
Yeah.
And then seeing all that, it's just crazy.
I mean, the thing about this time of year with the hens going to nest, they have to nest somewhere close to water, and they can't sustain themselves without it. And they, when they're making the eggs, they got to have that water. They don't have it, then they're not going to get a good hatch off. The more stress they get, the less their body produces. It's just like with coyotes, when there's more availability of food, they put off more babies. They have more pups.
Yeah.
It's the cycle, a balance thing. So it's pretty interesting. But
man, well, thank you for guruing us today. And
no problem.
man, it's been great meeting you. So many stories that I've heard. Glad to finally put a face with the name.
Yeah, it was a pleasure being in here.
Yeah, we're gonna have you back out. You're a wealth of knowledge. So good luck
I'll
on
use that degree somewhere. I'm not using it anymore.
We'll take it here, that's for sure.
All right.
So good luck in British Columbia. I hope you get your bear, man.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
thank you. Appreciate you.